Ew!
Ew.
Ew!
Hi. Cheers.
Welcome back to Ew.
Welcome back to Ew. It's morning and we have some spiked coffees, some Baileys and coffee. And Polly's here with us, so if you hear some silly breathing, we've got a puppy that likes to cuddle with us. And today I think we're going to talk about dead people.
Yeah, so in the least morbid way possible, we're going to share our interests and wonders about the afterlife.
Yeah, I think it was funny. We were recently at dinner talking, and Grace and I realized that we actually kind of both feel similarly about the afterlife and our interest in what it's like to be deceased. So we have some hot takes here. So I guess if you want to get started, Grace, with a time that you maybe had an encounter with a medium.
Yeah, so first of all, I've always enjoyed the show Long Island Medium. There's other spin-offs of the show, but I think generally they're real, but I'm still skeptical of all that they do. And a few years ago, I went to a psychic medium. I don't know, she was somewhat local, but she had really good reviews. I had to find out. And basically everything she said was true to me, but I questioned the amount of research that they're able to do before you go. Oh. This was a gift to me, so it was booked by somebody else. So she basically talked all about my grandma, all these things, and everything she said was very true and made sense, but also I feel like by looking up someone's obituary, you could find a lot of information, right?
Okay.
So, I don't know. It's hard to remember all the specifics of what she said. There was a lot of things that were supposed to be symbolic almost, that I had to really think hard and make these connections. She would say things like, oh, is there anything about a ring? What do you know about a ring? And there was an important ring. My grandma had this ring that all the stones on it were from her dad's ring. And then when she died, we all got a necklace made with one of those stones.
Okay, so, that's really cool.
Yeah, we did have a cool connection to her wedding ring, but also I feel like that's something that a medium could just say a ring, and a lot of people could have their own ways to really find a connection to it if you want, especially the way they set up the room and make you just feel really into it with them. I don't know. I felt like some of it could have been a stretch, but also was oddly specific. So
okay, was there anything that made you weirdly emotional or stood out that you felt wow, how does she know this?
In a way, but still goes back to I feel like you could just find this
in the moment it felt that way maybe.
Yeah. So that's why looking back, I don't know.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of specifics.
I've never met a medium. I did meet a psychic once. So I was at a bachelorette party, and they had, a psychic come and do readings for everyone.
I want to do that, too.
It was cool, but, you have to go, in a room by yourself with this person.
And this is what I mean. I feel like they set it up so you're really,
and it's, odd.
Vulnerable isn't the word, but kind of.
I don't know. I didn't want to be alone with this woman at a party. I want to be with everyone at the party. So maybe, that could have changed the vibe. But she was kind of is there a focus of your life you want to...
Right.
Gear this towards?
Was this tarot cards? Was it a tarot card
yes.
reading? Okay, all right. I have done those.
Okay, so this is different. Yeah.
I feel like tarot cards are not really real in the same thing where if you want to force a connection, you can find one. Because I had a couple different friends in college who read tarot cards.
Okay.
As in they just decided to start
doing
them. And we would have, like, tarot nights. Like, in my sorority house, the girl who would do it would, like, set up the whole room, and, like, we would do a whole thing.
That's kind of fun.
And it was really fun. It was worth doing, but, you know, it's not like this girl in my sorority just has these magic powers to, like, read into your life. So you would choose, like, a topic. That's kind of how it starts, and I don't know what they do from there, and then shuffle the whole deck and whatever, but I don't know. I feel like most people would be choosing topics like my love life and this and that.
Yeah.
And you're always going to find some connection to whatever card they pull, like, or it'll give you some kind of hope.
For sure. Like, this made me laugh because I asked about my job and, like, teaching.
Oh.
Like, am I meant to be a teacher?
Yeah.
And then it was like, absolutely, yes. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that. So, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what the card said and, like, how she phrased it, but I just remember thinking that it was kind of weird. But when I watch those shows, like Long Island Medium, I feel like some of the things they say really move these people, and it makes me wonder.
I agree. And what gets me with that is she'll stop people just, like, in the grocery store. And ask them. And that's where I think it's real, and that maybe some people really do have this gift
ability
or talent. Yeah. But I don't. That's where the tarot cards, I'm a little unsure that you could just order them off Amazon and start doing this.
Okay.
So, but yeah, with the Long Island Medium, she'll just pull out some crazy things. But how do you have that ability and you're not, like, freaked out by your own connection? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, or if you really are hearing all those voices in your head all the time.
How are you not crazy?
That seems absolutely awful. It seems ew. Like, I don't want to know about everyone's relatives all around me all the time. That sounds exhausting. But
right. But then are these ghosts, like, actually, like, going to these people and being like, say this? Is that real?
Is that real? Could be. I don't know. But see, that's okay. So that's the thing where I was going to say is that I kind of get into this. When my grandma was sick, but let me start over. When my grandpa died, okay, we were at my grandma's house that day, and my grandpa was legally blind. Like, he could see, but, like, legally he couldn't see that well, especially towards the end. So he listened to the radio a lot. And he had this, like, old radio next to his old man recliner chair where he always sat. And he would, like, listen to a lot of, like, I don't know, like, polka music or, like, the oldies radio. And he would have his stations preset. Anyways, my family was all at my grandma's house gathering so that we can, like, search for pictures, start putting together boards, getting ready for funeral stuff. And at one point, my cousin Nicole and I were alone in the living room. I was sitting in my grandpa's chair. Nicole was sitting on the couch. The radio was kind of, like, on this table in between us. And I kid you not, it went from being off to all of a sudden just ramped on to, like, 100. Like, we didn't touch it. We didn't do anything. And my grandpa's, like, polka music was playing through the speaker.
Wow.
Like, it was so weird. And then I was, like, obsessed with, like, finding out, like, is there an alarm set? Like, is this an alarm clock? How does, and everyone was like, no, what are you talking about? But nobody, like, believed us. But I'm glad Nicole was there because, like, like, we both witnessed it. Like, this did happen to us. And I do think that it was my grandpa, like, acknowledging that, like, he's still with us and that, like, everything was okay. Like, I took it as, like, a sign of him just, like, acknowledging that he was still with us.
Yeah, I've had experiences like that too, and that's where I think these things are really real. I have this little, it's like a music box. Is that what they're called? Where you, like, wind it? Yeah. So I have one of those that was from my grandma, but it was like passed down even to her to give to me. I don't know. I didn't get it till I was older, but it's like a little ballerina gymnast thing that just spins and makes music. It just sits on my dresser. I don't ever play it, but a couple years after she died, probably, it just started spinning and playing music one day. And I was like, that's really weird. And I was just alone in my room, and I had never really played it because I don't want
to wind it up.
And you have to wind it up, right? And I didn't want to ever break it. Like, I thought it was really pretty, so it just sits there. I don't ever listen to it, even just because. So that was weird, but I was like, oh, it's probably my grandma, kind of moved on, whatever. But then another couple years later, we also have more music boxes. And these are things I don't even realize we have, because we don't touch them. They just kind of like sit like a china cabinet type of deal.
Yeah.
My mom had some of my grandma's music boxes. I don't know why there were so many, but sitting on her desk just as display amongst a bunch of other things. And I don't know if I was home alone or if I was the only one up, but just wandering in my kitchen, and suddenly the music box from my mom's office, which is right off the kitchen, started playing.
Really?
Yeah. And I got like freaked out at that one.
second time.
For the second time. And then I asked my mom, like, did you hear that? Like, and she didn't, but
I think that's cool. I totally think that that's like connected.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of stories of, like, I know some people that have little kids, or when they were little kids.
I have a story like this too.
Yeah.
Actually.
And like, I feel like the people, like, so I know someone who has a dad that passed away, and she's told me that like her children or her like nieces and stuff have talked to her dad, who they've never actually met.
Yeah.
And like they like have had conversations with him. And I think that's so cool, because I think it's real.
I did this apparently. I don't
really
remember, but my grandma used to say, so my mom's grandpa, they called him Granddad, so I've always called him Granddad, but I never knew him. My grandma had pictures of him in her house, but nobody ever pointed them out to me or told me who he was. I think maybe he knew me as a baby. I'm not even really sure. I don't know him. But I was at my grandma's house one time. I was probably like 4, and I pointed, maybe they were explaining to me who he was. I don't know, but I pointed to this picture of him and said, oh, I know that man. He sits on my bed at night and talks to me. And then they asked me more questions, and I had plenty to say about him.
That's crazy.
So, and that actually came up in my Medium thing too, of, oh, like, your granddad is here.
That's cool.
He's with your grandma. Yeah.
See, I don't know. That's super cool.
So it's strange because I feel like I like knew him. I can picture him right now. Yeah. But I never actually
and like
did.
Some people think it's like, I don't know, scary or whatever. Like, I don't. I don't
either.
Super cool. I've gone, my friends and I went to Lake Geneva once. That's not what I meant to say. Galena.
Yeah.
And we did this ghost tour.
I've done a ghost tour too.
And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're cheesy, right?
Yeah.
And like parts of it I felt like were cool. Like when you go to like a historic building.
Yeah.
And something horrific like happened there.
I did this in Savannah, Georgia.
See, that stuff I'm cool. All about. Like, that's
too.
So cool. But then you go on like a tour bus and some of it kind of gets cheesy.
Yeah.
But they did take us to this old house and they had us like sit in a circle, and they had this like machine that could like, I don't know, detect ghosts or something.
Oh, yeah.
And they had it like, I don't know. They had this thing like detecting ghosts as we...
Would it just like beep if there was one?
Yes. And that to me was kind of like cheesy. Like it was like, I don't know, because I didn't feel like I could trust it or that it was real. But the stuff that just happens like naturally, or when you go to a place that has a really cool historical background, I'm so in. Like, I want to go somewhere and learn all about it. I've done a Chicago ghost tour where they take you to like some of these haunted places and talk to you about like, there's like a theater where a bunch of people died in Chicago and there was a fire and they couldn't escape. And then I learned that now they make doors so that always doors in a building should push out.
Oh, yeah.
Because if there's a fire, like, people were trying to open the doors and all the people were crowded towards the door and they couldn't open them, and then a bunch of people died. And that's like why like fire code is that like you have to have the doors like being able to like open a certain way now. So I love stuff like that, you know? Like,
I do too.
I want to learn cool facts and
Same. And I see on TikTok all the time, like, these haunted hotels and stuff. Like, there's some that exist that you can still stay in, though. I don't know if I would do that, though. Would you stay somewhere, like, willingly that you know is haunted or is said to be?
Okay, that would be... I don't know.
I don't think I could. I would go in, maybe, but, like, staying there?
Staying the night is, like, a whole other thing because, I don't know, I kind of love sleeping. Like,
yeah.
I don't need to be scared for an entire night straight.
No.
I'll go there. I'll have a drink.
Yeah.
I'll hear the stories about it.
Yes.
And then I want to go somewhere safe.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
Growing up, my mom she's funny. She hates Ouija boards. Not allowed. We didn't own one. We weren't allowed to do that. But my sister and I did it anyway. We had some friends that had Ouija boards. I specifically remember my sister had a friend who had a Ouija board, and our moms were friends. So there were times where, like, I was also there. Mm-hmm. And being the older sister, I for sure loved messing with them. Like, immediately, like, we would bust that Ouija board out, and I would make everyone gather around, and I would be moving that thing
you did move it.
I was moving it.
Out.
I was moving it all over the place and denying that I was moving it.
Yeah.
But we had, like, the best time doing that.
Yeah.
And as the older person, I felt like it was my duty to give everyone a little bit of a scare.
I agree. I don't feel like Ouija boards are real at all, though, in any sense. I've done them too.
But, like, I've never brought them to somewhere haunted.
Yeah. So we did this in my sorority house. We had a Ouija board in the basement. And most people were too afraid to ever touch it. But when we all first moved in there, that was the first thing that we did. I don't know why we set ourselves up to be afraid, but that's what we did. But there was a story. So my sorority house used to be a frat house. Like, I don't know how long ago. Long time ago. And somebody died in the house from hazing in the basement. But also, this could have been a made-up story somewhere down all these years.
But still
that
good.
kept getting passed along. Yeah. I don't know.
We love a good tradition story.
But, yeah, that's the story, that a frat boy was hazed in the basement and died. And so we thought... And then we had a ghost there named Henry. The ghost even had a name.
Absolutely.
And
you gotta
so
name him.
We did the Ouija board to see if Henry would give us a sign. And he did not. We were truthful with the Ouija board.
Okay, and he did not move.
No. So we just followed that with a good tarot card reading and moved along, but...
No, I love it. I used to also try to have, like, seances. My friends, Katie and Meg and I, we were in, like, 7th or 8th grade, and my mom wasn't home, and we decided to have a seance in my bedroom. So we, like, lit a bunch of candles, and we... found pictures of relatives of mine that had moved on. Mm-hmm. And we tried speaking to them. And I just know that my mom would have been horrified and so angry if she had known that we were doing that. But we absolutely were having seances in my bedroom. And I'm sad I never got the, like, light as a feather, stiff as a board thing to work. But I am all about... this. I think it's so just, like, fun.
I agree. People have all different kinds of thoughts on it, though. One of my friends in high school, her mom did tarot cards also, but at this point I didn't really know too much about what they were. Okay. And it didn't go out of my way to question it either. But she made it a very, like, secretive thing. Like, she wouldn't just read our cards. It was like, you have to ask your parents first if I can do this. And then while all of you are hanging out outside, like, you need to come inside just by yourself. And we're gonna, like, it was very weird. I never got my chance to do it.
See, yeah, I could see.
But I just wonder...
for permission, because my mom would have been the one that was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely
and I didn't get it, because it's not necessarily, like, ghostly to do tarot cards. It's just about, like...
my mom would think it's, like, evil and wrong.
Apparently some people do. Yeah. So...
yeah.
Did not get my opportunity, but...
interesting.
I always wondered.
My sister's super into that.
We should get these. We should start being tarot card readers. That could be the
give it a
next
whirl.
Yeah, it could be another segment of the podcast. We guest on and read their cards.
Try to do this and
just tell them some made up stuff.
We'd have to research, like, what the cards mean, right?
Yeah, but also the sets, like, come with a guide. And that's why I'm like, is this really real? Because the people who are good at it just don't need their guide anymore.
Yeah. They're just memorized
rambling
the
it off.
cards.
Right.
They're just saying what they mean.
When I would do it with my friends, it'd be like, oh, you got this card. Like, let's see what it means.
Let's see what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this leads us into our next, I think, topic that... Okay, this is funny to me and Grace. We're not trying to be, like, insensitive. And we're normal people. I'm going to say that I think we're normal people.
I think so.
But we enjoy planning and discussing funerals. Yeah. Like...
For ourselves. Yeah.
And, like, it's not something that we're glorifying. Like, I don't want to die. I hope to live a long life, and I hope you live one as well.
Yes.
But one day, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
And when the day comes...
You need to be prepared. I don't want to leave people questioning.
Right. And
they'll know what to do.
Very specific things that we feel should be included in our funerals.
Yeah.
So...
I could start. So
do it.
What really got me, well, I've always kind of thought about this, but what really sparked the thinking is that in college I took this class that was called Death and Dying.
Amazing. I'm beyond jealous.
And as part of the class, we had to plan our funeral. This was a paper
Shut up.
Yeah, we had to like write. I don't remember everything I wrote, and some of it I probably made up just to get through the assignment, but I definitely thought about it.
Considering enrolling in the class for fun.
It was a great class, and the teacher was the coolest woman I've ever met in my life.
I feel like you'd have to be to teach Death and Dying.
Her name was Flavia, and I don't remember where she was from, but somewhere cool. She had all these great life stories, and she did not at all specialize in death and dying. Like this was a social work class, so she taught like far beyond this. She was also just genuinely interested in it, which made it even better. And she had a lot of interesting stories about, like, people she knew in her life that died or, like, you know, kind of like everything happens for a reason kind of mindset type of person. And we also learned a lot about, like, healthcare and things like that and how you should set up a will early and...
So just, like, informative information.
Yes, but sometimes we would get a little...
A little spicy.
Yeah, it depended, and everybody contributed as much as they wanted to the class. But yeah, we had to plan our funeral, and we made it, like, fun. People got into it, and we shared what we wanted, what we would do, and yeah, so a lot of people were very specific with the music that they want at their funeral. And I feel like I will be too, but right now I don't know that I could pinpoint specific songs or a song, but that is something that I think...
is important,
makes a difference. One of my things, there was a big debate on whether or not you should wear black. And I personally feel like yes. Some people had very specific wishes for a different color or a theme. I feel like that's doing too much to ask people to like dress a certain theme to your funeral. I say we stick to the usual black. But when I'm me at my funeral...
Say it. Tell the people.
I don't know what I want to be wearing yet, but it needs to be something accurate to what I would actually wear. Like, I don't like when you go to a funeral and they're wearing something that you would have never seen them wear in their whole life. Or like, you're like, is that even their clothes? Like, no, put me in my favorite sweatshirt and like bury me in it.
Like comfy. You want to be comfy.
Probably, but I don't know. Like,
okay, but I liked what you said off here before
about why
does everyone else need to wear black?
So this is a celebration of my life.
Yes.
I need to stand out on this day. Like, it's about
your day.
me.
Stop making it about you.
If you're showing up to my funeral in some other kind of special outfit, that to me means you're looking for your own attention. You're looking for attention at my funeral, and that's wrong. So, yeah, if anybody walks in there not wearing black, get them out. They gotta go. I could even have a change of clothes for them. Maybe some black gowns. Just toss it over the outfit. I don't really know. But if you're coming in here trying to make a statement, we're going to shoot you right back down.
Like, at the request of the deceased, you must wear this gown. Your outfit is far too bright and attention-seeking.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. Because, like... I don't know. I like my outfit day to day to like not necessarily stand out, but I don't like to look like everybody else. Like I don't like to match
No, but
clothes.
I mean, like truly, like it's like this is like a celebration of you. Like why
Right.
are we trying to outshine?
So don't put me in black either.
Joke. Okay, so wait. All right, let's get your whole funeral plan first. All right, so you're not in black, but everyone else is.
Yeah.
You're cozy vibes.
Yeah, my hair better look good. If they do my makeup wrong, that's a whole other thing.
Right. Like they need to get that right.
Like let me do it myself before I go out.
Hopefully we get like some future like estheticians up in
Yes.
there. Like we need like not because probably right now, realistically, it is probably an old man.
Exactly.
Who does the makeup. I forgot what their title is.
Oh, I know it. A mortician.
A mortician.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they probably, it's a man doing our makeup. Like, no, like, we're gonna need a woman.
Yes.
Or, like...
Who knows?
I mean, I guess a man. There's male makeup artists. But we need someone who's professional.
I agree.
And knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, if this is our last look...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if the eyeshadow, like, the smoky eye, like, isn't doing it right, like...
Sorry, I'm a little ill still.
That won't be okay. If my eyebrows don't look good, oh no.
Yes. Okay, so obviously we're open casket here.
Yeah, unless I just, like, if I don't look like myself, then no. That's different than, like, put my best picture of myself on display with great lighting surrounding it.
So are you having a traditional... funeral? Like, what are the other unique things that you would...
Well, yes, but I also don't like when... I shouldn't say I don't like it. People can do what they want. But it doesn't feel right to me if, like, say you're claiming to be Catholic, but you don't practice the religion your whole life, and then suddenly at your funeral, you're having a whole Catholic mass.
I see. Okay.
Like, that doesn't sit right with me. I get, like, you're going to heaven, like, you want it to be spiritual, and I agree with that to a point. But I don't think you should go overboard.
Like, live the life that you, like, that you live.
Yeah, like, I would want some
And
kind of
that you...
mass or ceremony, but I wouldn't go overly traditional.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I would even, I don't know. I guess the church part is important, but that's hard right now. Like, I don't go to church, so I wouldn't want to, like, go claim some church as mine and have... And what gets me is, like, when a priest or pastor or whatever is, like...
know the person?
Yeah, doesn't know the person and is saying all this stuff about them, then that just makes me more mad, and I wish, like... Yeah, I would want, like, people I know to be speaking
To be the ones doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so, similar to you... I would want an open casket. I, too, would appreciate everyone dressing in black.
Yeah.
Because I will be there in spirit.
Yes.
And I will be judging.
Yeah.
And looking for who's crying and who's not. And I will be taking note. And I will be haunting those people.
Yeah.
Like, you're not sad about my death.
Yeah.
Haunting you.
Yeah, I can't get, like, I know it's, like, a celebration of your life, but I also cannot stand when the priest or whoever is like, don't be sad. We're celebrating their life. This is a happy thing. No, it's not. Like, yeah, they had a good life. We're all thinking about the good life that they had. That's why we're crying.
We're gonna miss them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So don't, like, put down the feelings. I can't.
Allow the feelings.
Yeah.
You know, if I ever were to be murdered, I would stop the person right before they're murdering me and just let them know that I will haunt them for all of eternity.
Yeah.
And then I would. And then I would haunt
Absolutely.
them. That's just a side note. But
Absolutely.
at my funeral, I envision everyone must cry for a significant amount of time. There's lots of tears.
Yeah.
But then we transition and the music begins and maybe a medium comes out and connects my guests to me.
Yeah.
And we have a last chat.
I think that would be good.
Before we go over to the party where then we can change from the sadness to the celebration.
I'm kind of with you on
right?
that. Like,
And
this
then
luncheon is going to be...
It's going to be lit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be all the things, like, it's going to be the...
There better be Diet Coke at yours.
Diet Coke and tacos.
Yes.
And probably martinis.
Yeah.
And everyone...
You can make the menu ahead of time.
Right.
Yeah.
I probably will make the playlist ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know?
You should.
The playlist for the crying and the playlist for the dancing later.
Long live.
Long live. Wow.
I think you just play that song
I
over and
think
over.
that is the
because
song.
depending on people's like mood at that time, like
Tell
they can
my
sing it
name.
differently, right?
Oh my God,
You know, like they could cry to that song, but they could really like
They can also really
be dancing
get,
around like
the vibe can change throughout the night.
yeah, with the same song.
Wow,
like
Grace.
different lyrics will speak to them throughout their time because they'll just be listening to it for so long. They'll connect with different parts of the song, and you'll live on.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah, I think that's
I
what you need.
remember I said this once because this is not just something I'm saying for this podcast. Like, these are thoughts I actually have, and I have this discussion with my sister who can verify this.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my sister about it once, and she's like, Laura, like, so you're like the oldest cousin, like you don't have kids right now. Like, who are these people at your funeral? Like, who?
Everyone.
She's like, who is there that is like enjoying this and crying? And I was like, excuse me.
Yeah, what?
Excuse. And I'm like, you know, I had a student once come up to me and say, I'll be at your funeral. And I'm taking that as a compliment.
Wow.
I have kids in my life that I've, you know, really made such a impression on that they're going to follow me to the grave.
That is a crazy thought.
That's a weird thing to say to someone?
Yeah.
But in my weird brain that plans funerals, I was like,
yeah.
wow, what a compliment. See you there, buddy.
Yeah. Wow.
See you there.
Yeah. Have you had a teacher that died before? Like, that was your teacher.
So, okay. When I was in 8th grade, I had a teacher that died a few years later. Mm-hmm. Or was it my 6th grade teacher? It was either my 6th or 8th grade teacher. I sometimes get them confused. And then my first job, this is actually really sad. My first job as a teacher, I worked at a Catholic school, and the kindergarten teacher had a heart attack and like passed away while I was working there, and it was horrible. I mean, my poor principal, I remember the little meeting that we had that morning, and I remember how sad he was to have to go into this room of kindergartners and tell them like that their teacher wasn't going to be coming back. Yeah. Because it was a Catholic school, like we had the mass as a school, like we all attended her funeral mass. So that was like really intense and sad. What about you?
Same thing, like years after I went, but one of my high school teachers did. He like got sick right after I graduated.
And kids went?
I think so, but I remember I didn't end up going. But I remember thinking, like, I hate that feeling of like you don't know if you should
go or
not. Because it's like his family wouldn't know who me and my friends are. So like we didn't, but the school had things like send money and do other things.
I think people do like appreciate like when you like I remember being at my grandma's funeral and like these people that were her neighbors that we hadn't necessarily talked to had come and they just like told stories about her and like how much they like adored her, and it's so nice to like hear these things that you didn't know about you know, being said.
So we sent in like a message thing or whatever, but it's just your student saying that they would be at your funeral. Just maybe like funny. It's like a weird thing to say, but yeah. And I've given a few eulogies. Have you? I have, for my grandparents. And I think I did a good job like honoring them, I like to think. But see, that's another thing I'd be planning out. Like, who's gonna give mine? Well, that's the thing. We'll have a list in case they're gone before me. Yeah, you gotta put the good karma out there now and do it because somebody's gotta, you know, say the good things for you. Right. I don't want to leave people to decide that. True. Maybe I'll write it for them. We gotta have a plan. Yeah. Okay, well, I think this was a really, I don't know, I just feel like it's funny that we have so much in common about our thoughts on the dead and funerals. I have one more segment that we could go on with this. Do it. So, well, we've talked a little bit about our haunted encounters, but do you have anything else on that, or just your honestly spiritual signs? That was more mine. Yeah. So let's hear yours. So I lived in this house that was absolutely haunted. Like, there's no question.
Like, growing up?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I lived in a few houses growing up, all within blocks of each other.
Okay.
My parents just liked to move for fun. I don't really know. But this is the second house I lived in, technically. So, from when I was 7 till I was 12-ish, we lived in this house. And we bought it from these older people. The husband's name was Gene.
Okay.
He died shortly after they sold us this house. The house had kind of a lot of property. Now that I look back at it, it wasn't as big as, like, my parents made it out to, like, seem and feel. But there was. And this guy took a lot of pride in how he did his landscaping and this and that. And so I guess my parents didn't really keep up with that as well as he did. So they think that that's why this was our ghost and this is who was haunting us. But basically, after... I don't know, probably was after a couple years of living there, just strange things started happening. I don't remember all of them at this point because I was a kid, but there are some that stand out. Like, one time my parents woke up, and I think there were a lot of smaller things too that I didn't really know about. Like, they didn't want my brother and I to know all these things.
So they believed it too?
Yes,
like,
they didn't. They were keeping it from us for a long time because they didn't want us to be scared. But, like, they would wake up and their dresser drawers would be, like, out of the dresser on the floor.
No.
Yeah, like, on the floor.
No.
And, like, they didn't do that, obviously, right? And so they would just, like, put them back and carry on with the day. One time they woke up and their bathroom door was off the hinges. Completely
Shut up!
detached. And my dad was like, okay, I guess I'll fix it tomorrow. And then the next day they woke up and it was just magically fixed. It was just back on.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
They weren't messing with you?
No. And I guess now my memory is tracing back. When this really started to get bad is when we put this house up for sale. It had already started, and we already kind of wanted to move anyway, but this is what really, like, it was starting to happen, so we're like, oh, we're really moving now. So once the house was up for sale, that's when things really started going crazy. So then my parents were like, oh, maybe they're mad that we're selling it or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they didn't like that you guys were...
not keeping, like, their house that was, like, their pride and joy. Like, they were
someone
too
else
old
is
to live in this
coming
house.
in.
Like, that's why they had to move out. Yeah. So there was all that. And then one night, I don't know why my mom was sleeping in my room. I have no idea why this is what was happening, but she did. So my mom was sleeping in my bed with me. And in the middle of the night, or maybe it was really early in the morning, my bed started shaking.
Stop.
I remember this very clearly. I was probably like 10 or 11.
Like earthquake vibes.
Like an earthquake.
Okay.
Like uncontrollably shaking. And actually before this too, I already was afraid of my own room. Maybe this is why my mom was sleeping in there. Because there were many occasions where my TV would just turn on and start playing. Or my laptop would start playing music. And I didn't turn it on. And my parents would be like, oh, it's fine. Technology, oh, it's broken. Oh, the internet's going in and out. Like, would always have something to tell me for it. So I think that's why my mom was sleeping in the room to begin with. Because I was afraid because sounds kept happening with my technology in the room. And so, yeah, like literal like earthquake vibes. Bed was shaking uncontrollably. And my mom's like, oh, it's fine. Like, there was an earthquake. Okay, well, I quickly fell back asleep, I guess. And my mom got out of bed, left me in there by myself. And then we talked about this again the next day. And she was like, yeah, no, like, I don't know what that was. Yeah. And I still, like, I remember.
Do you
this
talk
happening
about
so
it to this day? Like, will she talk about it now and be like, yeah, that was weird.
Yes.
We were haunted?
Yes. And so then things kept happening. And, like, we were really struggling to find a new house. Like, every offer my parents put in, like, we didn't get it. Like, I don't know. A lot of houses that we wanted, we didn't end up getting. And our house just wasn't selling. So, like, this process was really, like, elongated. And, like, the creepy stuff kept getting worse. So I remember, I'm sure there was more in between, but as we got closer to selling our house, I think our house was finally sold. Then our basement randomly flooded when we had just gotten like a brand new sump pump, like everything was brand new and it completely flooded, which had never happened before anyway. So that was strange. But then the part that really got us is so we were all standing in the kitchen and then my dad got a phone call from the realtor. And on the phone, the realtor says, like, oh, you got this house. And this was the house that, like, we really wanted. So we got our new house. Our offer was accepted. Yeah. Cool, great, whatever. My dad hangs up the phone. And there was a pot, just like a cooking pot, in the middle of the counter. The second he hung up the phone, pot slid off the counter onto the floor.
Stop.
It
Like,
just slid,
flew off. Like,
yeah.
Casper was there carrying it through the
Yeah.
kitchen.
Yeah.
Holy cats. That's wild.
Right? And then, so when you have a house that's haunted, apparently, like, you're supposed to disclose this. Or if...
Stop. Come on.
Yeah, right? You're supposed to disclose this to your buyer. We did not.
No, I would never, like, I don't know.
And I feel like that's more so, like, if
Unless
somebody
died
died in the house, like,
Okay, yeah.
you are
That
supposed to
makes sense.
disclose, but that's not what happened. So we didn't say anything, but, like, my parents were afraid, like, oh no, what if all this crazy stuff keeps happening when we move out? We don't want them to come back and be like, no, we don't want it, right? So this is all, my dad claims this. I have no evidence of any of this part of the story, but my dad claims that he took the dog out that night. We took our dogs out on a leash at this house. It was a big yard that wasn't fenced in or anything. And he says that he made this announcement and asked the ghosts to leave and begged and said all these things and blah, blah, blah. I don't really know. And he claims to have seen a shadow walk away.
Stop.
In our last week of living in the house, after that, nothing happened.
Okay, weird.
So that could be true. I don't know. But, like, he was calling him Gene, like, acting like we knew this ghost, and we're
Please
sorry we're giving
leave,
your house
Gene.
away.
We have to move.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Dang.
That's the story. So that's what I remember from it, but I think there were more things that happened.
Sure, like when, you were just
those
young.
are just the big parts that stand out that I will never forget. But that house always had kind of a creepy vibe, and even before those things started, I remember, like, we had a bathroom, like a powder room on the main level of the house, and for some reason this bathroom always scared me. Like, I didn't use it ever. And by the time we moved out, like, I think I only used this bathroom in our house, like, 2 times ever, because the bathroom itself just scared me. I don't know why, but yeah, I always felt a little off in there
Something wasn't
explanation, right. And so,
wow,
yeah,
that's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's a good one.
House story, but
okay,
no hauntings ever since.
No hauntings ever since.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's what you have to do. You have to talk to the ghosts and ask them to please go away. Mm-hmm. Please go away, ghosty.
That was the chosen method. We were really at a loss.
Dang.
At that point. But the people who bought that house from us at that time still live there.
Okay.
So
maybe they're trapped.
They could be. They could be.
Well, I think that's a good wrap here.
Yeah.
Let's cheers to the end of our podcast.
That's a good one.
Yeah. What would you rate your coffee drink?
It's really good. I'll give it... We'll go 8 out of 10.
I was going to say 8 as well. I drank pretty much all of mine, so I think that's pretty good.
Slow sipping, but it's very good.
All right. Well, woo! Woo!